I don't think like these people, and I no longer want to be associated with them.
Today I wanted to make a video talking about why I left my old university and overall the left.
This is actually how I escaped wokeness.
What I want to talk about today is why I left the left.
My name's Ashley. I am a former leftist turned conservative.
I was indoctrinated into social justice ideology.
I can no longer call myself a progressive.
Why I left the left is a common phrase we've been hearing more and more these days, with various former members of the progressive movement feeling dejected or no longer content with its direction. Some use their transition to distinguish themselves from the crazy wokes and SJWs, and others pose it as a principled rejection of the intellectual failings of the left. Me personally, I'm just happy that they're chasing that conservative bag queen. Yes. But seriously though, it has been a pretty increasingly common thing in the last few years of people either leaving the left entirely or using left-wing aesthetics to push conservative ideas, with the severity of cases existing on somewhat of a gradient. But why is that the case? Is there a problem on the left that makes people want to leave? Do we have a weakness that makes our talking points easy to exploit? Or are there perhaps other incentives for people to shift to the right? So that is what we're going to be looking at today. The way I see it, there are two distinct categories of conservative grifter. The first is people who claim to be progressive and simply use progressive language to disguise the fact that they're actually a conservative. These people have no functional difference from conservatives other than that they can more easily infiltrate and disrupt discourse in liberal circles. The other category is people who are more open about it, claiming to have once been a progressive but no longer consider themselves one. These people are honest about the fact that they're a conservative but dishonest in the ways that they represent the left. And what better example of this exists than a young man you might know by the name of Dave Rubin. Once the host of the Rubin Report on the progressive network The Young Turks, Dave Rubin is now an open conservative, pushing standard boilerplate conservative talking points for a check.
My brain is still in recovery mode from taking in so many high-level important ideas.
In fact, Dave actually went so far as to make a video for PragerU detailing his transition to conservatism called Why I Left the Left. It's a cute little title, Dave. How'd you come up with that one? So we're going to take a look at that video, break down the points that he makes in it, and see if we can't apply what we learned from it to this modern phenomenon of people grifting away to the right.
Do you believe in free speech?
Yeah.
Do you believe that people should be judged by their character, not their skin color?
Yeah.
Do you believe in freedom of religion?
Yeah.
If you believe these things, you're probably not a progressive.
Oh. Well, then what the fuck?
You might think you're a progressive. I used to think I was.
I find it so strange how conservatives have to come up with the wildest ways to present progressives, like we have no idea what our own beliefs are. Now, you might think you're a progressive and act like one and have all the core beliefs that are essential to being one, but trust me, kid, you are not a progressive, okay? I used to think I was progressive just like you, and then I thought long and hard about it, and well, I realized I really hate minorities, and that's what really sold it for me.
Progressives struck me as liberals, but louder. Progressives were the nice guys. They looked out for the little guy. They cared about women and minorities. They embraced change.
Yeah, when I was on the left, it was really just all about having compassion and treating minorities with dignity and respect, and I really just couldn't fuck with that, you know?
But over the last couple of years, the meaning of the word progressive has changed. Progressives used to say, I may disagree with what you say, but I'll fight to the death for your right to say it. Not anymore.
What do you mean progressives don't say that anymore? I mean, I believe in free speech, so is it... is this because you guys want to say slurs online? Is that what this is about? Ah, you almost had me. Yeah, almost had me. But this is what I mean, by the way, of twisting the definition of progressive into something more easily attackable. Like, since the whole point of progressivism is maximizing the best outcomes for everyone and not just the powerful few, he has to twist it into something that it's not. This vague notion of intolerance of opposing views.
Banning speakers whose opinions you don't agree with from college campuses, that's not progressive. Prohibiting any words not approved of as politically correct, that's not progressive. Putting trigger warnings on books, movies, music, anything that might offend people, That's not progressive either.
So conservatives always repeat this narrative of like, oh, the left never lets us say our differing opinions. And it's like, you are doing that right now. You are currently on this video with millions of views saying the thing. What do you mean by prohibiting words not approved of?
Prohibiting any words not approved of.
You people are rarely ever censored in public discourse, and a lot of you literally make your livings by going and visiting college campuses, so the censorship there can't be too bad, right? And that's another thing. How much power do people like Dave Rubin think progressives actually hold? Like, do you think they even have the power to prohibit your words, or are you just vaguely gesturing towards an imagined censorship crisis? I wonder. Also, that trigger warning thing, what the hell was that? I mean, the other stuff, I get it if you think the left is like limiting your speech or whatever, but like, how does a trigger warning infringe on your free speech in any way? Sorry, my viewers with epilepsy, I'm so sorry, but from now on, you'll just have to rely on luck of the draw before you watch anything, because Dave Rubin doesn't like warnings on stuff. It goes against his free speech values. I swear to God, I do not understand how the left is labeled the snowflake side when this shit is going on the right. Like, this shit is 10 times more ridiculous than anything I've ever seen anyone on the left do.
All of this has led me to believe that much of the left is no longer progressive, but regressive.
Whoa, zing! How long did it take you to come up with that one, Davey boy? I mean, that is just a world-class zinger, dude. No bones about it. Bazinga! Wish I could come up with something that clever on my own, dude. I mean, damn.
This regressive ideology doesn't judge people as individuals, but as a collective. If you're black or female or Muslim or Hispanic or member of any other minority group, you're judged differently than the most evil of all things, a white Christian male.
I mean, don't look at me, he said it.
The regressive left ranks minority groups in a pecking order to compete in a kind of oppression Olympics. Gold medal goes to the most offended.
This is totally me when I make shit up and get mad about it. Like, it's not even clear what he's referring to here. Is he saying that progressives acknowledge disparities between races? 'Cause, like, yeah, that's just called sociology. It's not oppression Olympics. I find it so funny how conservatives have to pretend like values like inclusion and tolerance aren't progressive values, but somehow conservative ones. As if conservatives haven't fought against those values at every single chance they've gotten throughout history. Like, he lists MLK in this video as an example of like a good progressive, but like, who do you think MLK was fighting against, dude? It was you, bro. And what gets me about this is that we know Dave knows this. He self-admittedly used to be a progressive, so I'd have to assume that that isn't how he saw the world. Because that's not how anyone sees the world. It's a conservative invention portraying how they think progressives see things. But it really is just that. An invention. And since Dave has allegedly been on both sides of it, he would obviously be the one to know that, which makes it so clear that this is all just a grift for him. He doesn't actually believe a single thing he's saying.
I'm a married gay man, so you might think that I appreciate the government forcing a Christian baker or photographer or florist to act against their religion in order to cater, photograph, or decorate my wedding. But you'd be wrong. A government that can force Christians to violate their conscience can force me to violate mine.
It hurts. It hurts my brain. I'm losing brain cells. No, guys, you don't understand. I actually like being discriminated against. In fact, I actually prefer it. It just reminds me how free I am in this country. Like, the argument here is just so stupid. Like, do we just allow any harmful action as long as the justification is religion? I mean, by his logic, if I religiously believed that I could eat babies, would he support me expressing my freedom of religion to do so? Obviously not, because my religious beliefs are my own and shouldn't be able to infringe on the freedoms of others. It's not that hard. And it's kind of sad, too, because he's arguing against what he probably knows to be his own best interest. But since he's the right's token gay person, he can't come out in favor of his own equal rights. He has to pretend like he's cool with discrimination on the basis of sexuality to get paid.
Today's progressivism has become a faux moral movement hurling charges of racism, bigotry, xenophobia, homophobia, Islamophobia, and a slew of other meaningless buzzwords at anyone they disagree with.
I mean, he's got me there. I do tend to disagree with racists, bigots, xenophobes, homophobes, and Islamophobes, but hey, you know, to each their own. Maybe Dave thinks those people are wonderful. So what Dave is referring to here is this idea on the right that like calling out bigoted behavior is somehow an infringement on free speech. Like you hear them say this all the time. They'll say something absolutely vile and out of pocket, usually about minorities, and when someone calls them out on it, they screech, "Here goes the intolerant left, once again attacking my free speech. The wokes have gone too far." And it's like, really? Free speech applies to you being able to say slurs online, but not someone calling you out on it? Like, really? That's going too far? It's just so transparent what's going on here. I hate to say it again, but it's sad, dude. Like, for someone who claims to be a former progressive, you think he'd have a more charitable view of their politics and not, like, openly lie about what progressives believe. Like the idea that he was once a progressive and the fact that this is how he describes progressivism are incompatible with each other. So either he was never really a progressive or he is just blatantly lying in this video, or both.
So if you think people should be able to say what they think without being punished for it, that people should be judged by their behavior, not their skin color, and that people should be able to live the way that they want to live without government interference, then there's not much left on the left for you.
I love this idea that somehow the left are now the intolerant ones. Like, what? Am I supposed to believe that conservatives are better on this? Really? These people can also never actually make a case for conservatism. They can only just lie about the left and make it look bad. Actually, progressives are simply too intolerant these days. That's why I'm joining the party that's the epitome of tolerance, the Republicans. So overall, I think this video from PragerU is a really good showcase of the reasons that some people leave the left. In the case of Dave Rubin, it's evident that his being gay is an asset to the right.
I'm a married gay man.
Especially when pushing talking points surrounding discrimination on the basis of sexuality. His status as an openly gay man on the right,
I'm a married gay man,
gives a sort of credence to what he says on the topic. And ironically enough, the tokenization of his sexuality is itself a form of the identity politics he claims to hate.
I'm a married gay man.
Man, you really gotta wonder, like, is it really worth it? Is selling out your principles and values really worth all the conservative cash? Like, literally no progressive I've ever known would ever do something like that. So was he even a progressive in the first place? It's honestly hard to tell. And what about others who've made similar transitions? I mean, you can literally go on YouTube right now and find an entire subgenre of grifters that claim to be former liberals or progressives until the left went too far and they pivoted away. Some people even build their entire brand around lying about a community they claim to have been a part of. So why does this happen? Does the left have a retention problem, or is there something deeper going on that incentivizes people to betray their principles? So if you've been a leftist or a progressive for long enough, you've probably seen the trope of some person you've never heard of making a big public statement about how they no longer consider themselves progressive. And interestingly enough, they usually don't come right out and say they're conservative. They'll usually call themselves a classical or dejected liberal, or liberal who leans right on some issues. But in a lot of those cases, these labels mean absolutely nothing, because the things they'd say and the topics they choose to discuss are practically indistinguishable from what a conservative would do. Whenever they criticize the left, these supposed liberals always refer to this warped and fabricated version of the left that only a conservative would think actually exists. I mean, I gotta kind of give them credit. It must be hard to keep up the ruse of selling yourself as a liberal when pushing nothing but conservative talking points. It's probably why so many of them are brain broken after like 3 years of doing that. Like, that shit has to weigh on your cognitive abilities.
I wouldn't be surprised at all if Trump had a 49-state landslide. I think we could see a 49-state landslide. We may be looking at Trump landslides 49 states, and we may see a 49-state landslide. Maybe a 50-state landslide. That'd be amazing.
So why are people choosing to keep the liberal label when they're really just a conservative? We'll take an example like Ariel Scarcella, or even someone like J.K. Rowling. These are both people who started out with small criticisms of the left, and before they knew it, their criticisms had grown to encompass the entire movement. Scarcella and Rowling both refer to themselves as liberals and feminists, but are both constantly hyper-fixated on pointing out why trans people icky. And at that point, if that becomes all you are, then what's the difference between you and a conservative who does the same thing? The answer is functionally nothing. It doesn't matter how many times you justify your bigoted rhetoric with pseudo-feminist logic. You're still the face of a hate movement. And now you might be thinking, Kevin, how do you know they're purposely lying about being progressive? Maybe they really think, despite how it sounds, that what they're saying and doing is a form of activism. How do we know that they're not progressives deep down? And to that I say, I don't care who they are deep down. I care about the effects of what they say and its outcomes. People like this who push reactionary talking points in the name of equality always end up undermining whatever cause they're claiming to support every single time. Do you honestly think J.K. Rowling's rhetoric about trans people is helping feminism? Of course it isn't. By being so openly transphobic, all Rowling does is reaffirm gender roles, reduce womanhood to a very narrow set of ideals, and reinforce the idea of a gender binary. In what world is that even remotely considered feminism? I'll tell you, it's not. Rowling doesn't care about feminism. She only cares about using the language of feminism to subjugate trans people. Someone who actually cared about feminism would understand that being anti-trans hurts feminism more than it helps it, and no longer be that. So when people like Scarcella say they don't want to be associated with progressives anymore, what they really mean is, I'm going to completely toe the Conservative Party line while doing it in a way that vaguely resembles progressive politics. It's deliberate dishonesty, or in other words, a complete grift. These people are not progressives and can only benefit the right by doing this, using their conversion to make it seem like switching sides is a good or beneficial decision. And not to mention the tokenization aspect of people like Ariel Scarcella and Dave Rubin. The fact that they both identify as gay is a prime aspect of what I'm calling the pick-me minority. This refers to any form of minority who betrays the interests of their identity group to serve themselves, appealing to the status quo biases that conservatives have in order to obtain financial gain or notoriety. Their minority status is both tokenized and weaponized as a mechanism to reinforce systems of oppression. In other words, they're a sellout. But it's not just token minorities that do this grift. Far from it. There are grifters all over, from every walk of life you could imagine. Even white male leftists like myself are not immune to this. There's an entire genre of so-called communists who are just conservatives or even fascists masquerading as leftists in the strangest ways you could possibly imagine. So, if any type of person can do this grift, then why do we see so many people going from the left to the right and not so much the other way around? Is it just a problem with how the left functions? Is it really because we're just too intolerant or engage in too much purity testing? Well, on the whole, no, I don't think so. I do think the left can be pretty intense sometimes, and we do have a tendency to purity test people, so I'm definitely not making excuses for that. That is a real thing. But when it comes to these grifters and why I left the left, you gotta remember, there is an entire media machine that exists to serve the interests of the right. Like a multi-billion-dollar a year industry that simply does not exist on the left. And it has a tendency to pick up on and boost the people who are willing to make careers out of spinning the left as this wildly intolerant, overly sensitive cry-bully fest that only exists in the minds of conservatives. So I think that is the main reason we're not seeing as many people transition the opposite way. In my opinion, it's not as much due to the flaws of the left, of which there are many, no doubt, but more due to the fact that there are so many powerful incentives for people to cater to the right. I mean, shit, if I had no morals and didn't care about the truth or the effect my words have on the world, I'd probably be a conservative just because it's so fucking easy to say the lines and get money and attention. So what can we do? Do we just kind of take the L and accept that there will always be people that try to pull people away from the left? Well, kinda. I mean, there will always be those people in the world who are only in it for themselves and turn their backs at the slightest sign of adversity, and there will always be people that are antagonistic to leftism as a whole and want to ensure its failure. But that doesn't mean we can't do anything. Remember, we as leftists have something that conservatives can only pretend to have, and that is that we are correct. Again, leftism is about ensuring the best outcomes for the largest number of people possible, and no grifter or bad faith conservative can change that. So don't fall for the narrative that the left is driving people away or is so intolerant of differing opinions that it's just an echo chamber. We decide together what our community is made of. We choose whether we go the path of easy punditry money or of integrity, and in the end, we are all better for it. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of this video. That really means a lot to me and it really helps me out, so thank you. If you enjoyed this content, please leave a like on the video and consider subscribing to the channel. I release videos every single weekend. I also want to thank everybody for the support on my last video. It got way more views than I had ever anticipated it getting, and I mean, it made a lot of conservatives angry, so I guess I'm doing something right. I mean, I guess I also have the YouTube algorithm to thank for that, but there were also a lot of really supportive, kind, and thoughtful people in those comments that are now subscribers of mine, so thank you guys for tuning in, watching, and sticking around. I'm planning on having this video out right before the new year hits, so I will see you all in 2024. Bye.